Hands up if you ever had a BlackBerry. Hands up if you have one now. Ma'am, you need.
Shaku, Mr.
Yes,
Shaku.
Kirk.
Yeah, Charlie, good afternoon. The last time, what happened? I was
What?
unable to.
I even called him today, but he wasn't able to. But we were able to do it though. I
Oh, okay.
just use a different tricks and then it works. So
Because when you were talking, I can't hear you cry.
yeah. I understand. I could see.
Are you still in Ghana?
No, I've left. I
Oh,
just came
why?
yesterday. I came
Oh, you should
yesterday.
have stayed here and suffer with us.
Oh, don't worry, I'll come back and suffer with you. I just came yesterday, so that is why yesterday, I wasn't active.
Oh,
Yeah, I just came yesterday.
okay, okay.
But Ghana is good, huh?
Yeah.
Ghana is good.
You see how your money to the go shua shua, or you forgotten?
Yeah, but it's good. I'm missing Ghana.
Then you have Euro, so Ghana is good for you.
I'm missing Ghana. You know what? I even passed in front of South Africa, but I was late. So that's why I did. I saw your billboard and everything.
Uh,
Mm. Yeah.
okay,
You're here.
let's wait for them.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, afternoon.
Yeah, good
Hi.
afternoon, Deborah.
Yes, good afternoon. My
How
name
are
is
you?
Stephanie. I'm good, I'm good. How is everyone doing today?
Everyone is doing fine. So what we'll do is that you can start sharing your screen and we'll give them 2 minutes. So normally we start the meeting as 5 past the hour. So
Okay,
now it's I think 4 o'clock and 12 I think in the US. So 5 past 12, you can start.
okay. So
So yeah, you
I'll
can
just wait
start sharing
till
your screen.
12, and then we could start, I guess.
Great, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. No problem.
Okay, so can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
All right. Okay, so once again, good afternoon. My name is Debbie, and I'm going to be the presenter for today. And we're going to be talking about firewalls. So we'll have a little presentation. It's in 10 slides. We're going to discuss the definition, the background, how it works, the importance of a firewall, securities of a firewall. We have a few live events and then recommendations of a firewall. And after the presentation, if you have any questions, you could ask, and then I'll do my best. So let's dive right into it. Okay, so we're going to define what a firewall is. I know a firewall, we've all heard about it, and we use it in our daily lives, in our workplace, at home, offices, churches, and all of that. So it's not a new thing to us. We use it every day. So we're just going to have a quick definition about it. I'm just going to borrow an example that Kwame usually uses about firewall in our classes. He always says that a firewall is like a bouncer at a club. So when you look at bouncers, they're usually, maybe some of us have not been to a club before, so I'm going to explain what a bouncer is. So a bouncer is someone that usually they look masculine, they're tall, sometimes cute, sometimes not. Very serious looking at the entrance of a club. Sometimes you're at the doorway, sometimes you're like at the parking lot looking at what is going on and all of that. So they're there to make sure that everyone is following a specific set of rules to be able to get into the club. So let's say if you go to a club like clubs in Miami, you have to be looking a certain type of way. You need to have your hair done, you need to have your makeup done, you need to be looking okay for you to be able to get into the club. And there's some clubs that you need to have heels on. If you come to some clubs in New Jersey, you could just get in with a jeans and a cute top and maybe flats, and that's okay. Now, usually these rules are set by the owners of the club. So the owners of the club will set these rules for the bouncers to follow and make sure that the club is being kept in a certain status in a certain type of way. So a firewall is just like that. So the owners would set a specific type of rule for the device to follow. So the rules that you're going to set for your firewall, or the rules that is set, let's say the rules that the owners will set for the bouncer, will determine how the club is going to look like. So if you say, okay, you could just allow anybody into the club, we're not going to check ages, we're not going to check IDs or whatever, that means 17 and 16-year-olds will be able to get into the club because some of them look 30 and 40, and if you're not checking IDs. So this is like basically what a bouncer does at a club, and that is how a firewall works. So if we're going to define a firewall, I'll say that in our cyber world, a firewall is a network security device that monitors incoming and outgoing network traffic and decides whether to allow or block specific traffic based on a defined, let me move this out of the way, based on a defined set of security rules. And also it can be defined as a device that prevents unwanted access into a computer network. So unwanted access as in, let me use a club as an example, or an airline. So some people are blacklisted from an airline, or some people are blacklisted from a club. So the owner would tell the bouncer, hey, if you see this guy anywhere the premises, or if you see this person, they are not allowed into the club. They are unwanted here. Maybe they did something a few months ago, broke a few rules, maybe smuggled something into the club, so they're not allowed to be in there. So that is an unwanted access. So that could be an example. Or blacklisted from an airline. This person cannot fly with us. If you see this person anywhere near our premises or even a company, you need to call security or you need to walk the person out. So that could also be unwanted access. Let's move on from there. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh. I'm sorry, guys. Give me 1 minute. Okay. Okay, so we're going to talk about a brief history about firewalls. So firewall dates, I know maybe most of us were not born. I wasn't born, but it dates back 1980. It was an idea originating from a man named Jeff Mugo. He was the CEO of Digital Equipment Corp. It was originally referred to as a wall intended to confine fire within a line of adjacent buildings. So when to is adjacent, I know that we've learned all of these things, but just to define what adjacent is, so we can have more clarity on what we're talking about. So we'll say that like an adjacent building is like two or more buildings on the same lot, right, on a line, but it's not separated by street. It's not separated by uh like a street or venue or an alley. So it's not separated by anything. So if you look here, you can see the this is an example of an adjacent building. So that you can see that these are 1, 2, 3, but there's no street, there's no alley separating the building. This is an example of an adjacent building. So originally the firewall was called a wall intended to confine fire within a line of adjacent buildings, right? And it was also called packet filtering firewalls. Originally, that was a name that was given to it. So let me define what a packet filtering firewall is for us to have more clarity. So a packet filtering firewall is a network security technique that regulates data flow to and from a network. It's a security mechanism that allows packets to move across networks whilst it controls the flow or the direction that like with a set of rules that the owners would give to it. It controls the data that is going to the network. So basically, that is a little definition about what a packet filtering firewall is, for us to have more clarity. So it was the oldest and the basic type of firewall that they had before. And now, even as firewall data was invented by Jack, the firewall checkpoint was invented by Joe Schreed in 1993. It was the industry's first stateful inspection firewall technology. Is everybody here? Are we good so far?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the types of firewalls that we have. We have two types of firewalls. Like if we put in all the firewalls into categories, we're going to say one is a network-based firewall and a host-based firewall. So let's talk about network-based firewall. Okay, so a network-based firewall is also known as the hardware firewall. These are security devices used to stop unauthorized access to private networks connected to the internet, especially internet. So I know we've learned internet in class, but I'm going to give a definition to it in case someone is here and he or she doesn't know what an internet is. So an internet is a private network contained within an enterprise or company that is used to securely share information, company information, and like computing resources among employees. An internet can be used for working in groups, teleconferences, for communication within a company. So if you take a company like, let's say, United Airlines, now, or your company, for instance, if you have a company laptop, a company phone, or a device that has been given to you, now your emails, daily updates that the company gives, all the information coming from the company is an internet. So it's private. The data that is moving within the network of the company, that is an internet. So that's the difference between an internet and an internet. The internet is public and the internet is within a company, which is private. And where were we? Okay, connected, especially internet. So this type of firewalls are developed in line with traffic flow. It protects the entire network and monitors all incoming and outgoing traffic. So like I was saying, so whatever data that's coming in, or let's say Alphanet, I'm using that as an example. So if United Airlines, whatever update that I have every day from my phone, from my laptop, and all of that, it's an internet it's called an internet. So that is within the company and it is private. No one has access to it but the employees. So they share information. We have a website where we share company information, sensitive data, and all of that. And that is I could say that the firewall that protects all of that is a network-based firewall. So it protects the entire network and monitors all incoming and outgoing traffic. This is the firewall that you buy like you can buy from Amazon or from a good firewall company. You can set it up in your office. You can set it up in your home. It has to be set in somewhere. So an example of this hardware firewall is Linksys firewall and Zyxel USG Flex. Any good firewall could cost between $300 to $10,000. So apparently, firewalls are that expensive. So if you want to buy one, we have good ones that could go for $10,000, $6,000, depending on how good it is. You can have some as cheap as $100, depending on how good the firewall is. So we're going to move on from there to host-based firewall. Do we have any questions up to this point? Am I going too fast? Too slow? Is everybody okay? On the same page?
Debbie, it's okay. We are all on the same page, so you can go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so host-based firewalls. Host-based firewalls are the type of firewalls that sit on a single computer. So you have a MacBook, you have a Dell computer, whatever that you have, the firewall that you put on that protects only, like it protects only that compute, that asset. It doesn't protect the whole network or the whole company or data flowing in and out of the whole organization. No, it just protects one computer. So if it sits on your laptop, it's just your laptop that it protects, and the data, the information, everything that is on that computer. It doesn't protect the entire network or anything. So let's say your antivirus that you use, or the antivirus on your computer. Yes, that could be an example. It protects just that. It doesn't protect everything or the entire network or the entire organization. So it protects only one single thing, and it's in the computer. It's not a device that is sitting somewhere that you could just play with, or you could turn on and off. It's built. It's like a software in the computer. It's not a hardware device. So it protects traffic in and out of a single computer. Some host-based firewalls are built into computers. So when you look at Windows, when you buy a Windows computer, Microsoft, they have some of the firewalls built into the computer already. So if you want to use that when you buy it and you want to continue using that, you don't have to buy an extra one if you don't want to. So an example is Windows Defender, which was built by Microsoft into the computers, and it protects the device from viruses, malware, and all of that. It also controls the spread of harmful infections throughout the network. An example is Symantec Firewall, and we've learned that in class. So I'm not going to go into details with that, but that is a host-based firewall. So the difference between a host-based and network-based, it's an example when you look on the left side. This is an example of a network-based firewall. You could just buy, sit in the corner of your room, you could play with it, turn it on and off, and all of that. And then host-based is in the computer. It's not a hardware sitting somewhere. Okay, so next will be the importance of a firewall. So let's look at a few examples. Firewalls provide protection against outside cyber attackers by shielding your computer or network from malicious or unnecessary network traffic, which we have spoken about. And I think it's pretty obvious that that is what firewalls do. They protect you, they protect against malicious things coming in. So let's say like when you build a wall around your house or around your apartment or a fence, you try to keep something out of it. Most of the times walls are built for protections. So you try to keep thieves, you try to keep animals, you try to keep calling things, you try to keep things that you don't want in your house. And there usually you have a gate. So the only thing that you allow in your house is what you want. So if someone is coming, you about to get a delivery, they knock, you go open the door. So it's something that you want. So the wall is protecting you from unwanted access, just like that. So firewalls protect us against cyber attackers. It shows our computers and our network from malicious and unnecessary network traffic coming from somewhere. Number two, it provides enhanced security and privacy from vulnerable services. So let's say if you have an antivirus on your phone or on your laptop, and you happen to join you're somewhere, you happen to join a network that is very weak, it doesn't have any security parameters, there's nothing that is protecting you against anything. You have a firewall in your computer. If you have a host-based firewall, that protects you from that vulnerable network as well. So that's also an example. The third one, it prevents unauthorized users from accessing a private network, like we said. So if you take United Airlines, for example, if you're not given access into that network, you cannot have any access into it. The only thing that you could do is probably go online and book a flight, and that is public. But you can never have any access into their systems because you don't have any authorization. And there's a firewall that is protecting the whole entire network, which is a network-based firewall. And the fourth one is it provides faster response time and can handle more traffic as well. Are we doing okay so far? Is everyone on the same page?
Yes, but I have a question.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Who is speaking?
Kirk,
I'm sorry, who's speaking?
Kirk.
Kennedy. Okay. Please go ahead.
Okay, so let's say if I'm running a company and I decided to use the default firewall Microsoft brings, is it a good idea to use that one instead of buying the expensive one?
Well, I would say that usually companies are built to make profit, and the fact that they still are there to provide a service. So whatever is built, in my opinion, whatever is built in whatever that Microsoft builds in their computers, I wouldn't say is that powerful, or it depends. It depends on what type that you're buying. And also, I'll say it's good and bad because usually they update it. So once you want to keep up with the updates, you're going to follow their instructions and patches whenever there's maybe whenever it's compromised, then you know that they are liable, because sometimes even though you update these softwares and all of that, but then sometimes something still happens, then you know that they are responsible for that. But then if you buy your own firewall and you put it in your computer, you are responsible to keep that going. Microsoft is not responsible for that. So it's good and it's bad. So far as you want to keep up with the updates and patches that are going to bring out every year, then you can go ahead and use it. But if you don't trust it and you're buying your own, that means that you are going to have to keep updating and you're going to have to be responsible for everything that's happening. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yeah, you're making sense. But what I'll add to it is it all depends on the assets that the organization has and how well the organization wants to protect its assets. You understand? So if you think you have a lot of things that needs to be well protected, you can't trust what Microsoft is providing. Or rather, you have your own, which you think you have absolute and total control of, and then you'll be able to protect those valuable assets from falling into the wrong hands. So that is all I could add on that.
Okay. And also one more thing, I think it also depends on what type that you're buying. If you're buying something from 2009, obviously it's not going to be as powerful as whatever was built today. So you should also put that into, it's like you're buying a MacBook 2010 and a MacBook Pro that has been built, came out last year. They're not going to be on the same, working space. One is going to be faster and accurate than the other, even though they use a similar type of software. So just if you could also have that in mind.
Oh, okay. So the third party firewall, the one you said is expensive, do they collect data when you buy their products? Let's say when you are using their firewall, do they collect data from you?
Well, like if you're buying it like maybe like from Amazon or something.
Now, I mean, let's say the Microsoft firewall, I don't want to use it. And let's say I'm using Symantec firewall. I'm just asking, nowadays the company like, let's say if you install their program or something, they start collecting data from your computer. So I'm asking if the firewall, the third party firewall, did they collect data from your computer? I don't know if you get me, Shuffle.
Let me come in there. I get what you're saying, but let me come in there. So with third-party firewall, like you are saying, is third-party. There are various variety of them. So it depends on you to read their privacy policies and understand what your data is being used for or how they are protecting your system and so on and so forth. Then you make the decision. For all you know, there might be third party out there that do collect information, and there might be others also that do not. So it depends on you, the user, to always go through the privacy policies and any other policies they have, and then get a better understanding of what you are getting yourself into.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Okay, and also if I had one last thing, because you're going to be enabling it, you're going to be setting rules for the firewall to follow, right? So if you're going to be
Yeah.
setting rules and that company is going to be sending you updates to update your software and all of that, there might be some data that they might take, like email. Let's say you have to buy something, they'll take credit card informations and all of that. So there might be some data that's been taken from you. It's a third party company. So yeah, I think that there might be some data being taken from you so far as their updates and stuff, but there should be options for that.
Okay, thank you very much. That's it for me.
All right. So I'm gonna move on also. Okay, so we're gonna talk about, oh, I'm sorry. We're gonna talk about the securities of a firewall. Now, firewalls rely on rules set for them to be able to function properly and effectively. So if you do not set good rules, or if you not set good policies for your firewall, obviously it's going to be weak. So I believe that the security of a firewall makes it important. So how effective the security of your firewall is, or the network's firewall is, makes it important. So the more effective the security is, it's how important your firewall is going to be. So incorrectly configured set of rules can tamper with the security level and effectiveness of a firewall. If you do not want unwanted traffic from a specific country, you don't want unwanted traffic from a specific site, you don't want unwanted traffic from a specific place, you have to set the rule for that. If you don't set the rule for that, then obviously you're going to be getting traffic from places that you do not want. That will make your firewall not be as effective as it should be. And firewalls have to be configured properly to allow and block what comes in and out of the computer and the network. So again, like United, for instance, there's some things that are not allowed into the network. You cannot send private emails to yourself from our phones. You cannot send any. There are so many things that are restricted on our phones and on things that we could do with the computer, with my laptop, with the company laptop, and with my phone. There's so many things that I cannot access because they have good policies put in place. And there are things that if I want to access, I also have to go to my manager to get permission for me to be able to do that. So the importance of the firewall again is in how effective the security is going to be. The more effective the security is how important your firewall is going to be. The importance of the firewall is in how effective the security is, and the securities can also be found in its importance. So we're going to move on from there, and we're going to look at two real life situations. So I'm going to take a country like China. I know we all know China. Has anybody been to China before? Or South Korea, or not Korea, not
No,
included, but South Korea or China? Okay.
no.
So China is a country that I realize that they're not very friendly with the internet. They have so many restrictions. There are things that you can access here in America that when you get to China, you cannot access those things. And they have so many policies in place because they believe that the internet is not a good, it has too many things that can make their people rise up against the government. So because of that, China has a lot of things that you can access here in America that you cannot access in China. And to give you more clarity on what China does, there's something called the Great Firewall of China. So how it works is they designed it in such a way that it blocks the citizens' access to uncensored internet. So let's say there are some policies that they put in place for the whole country, and China built this thing in 1998 for it to control the entire country to the extent that I think they just brought out a policy this year that says, what did it even say? I think it says that if you're 16 to 18 years, you're allowed to use the internet for 2 hours. And then if you're below that, I think you're not allowed to use the internet at all. at certain points in time till you're 18 or like 19 or 20. So this is a great example of how firewall can be, a nation can use firewall to block so many things. A country like North Korea is a very secure country. They have very, very little access to the internet. And how they do that, they build their own firewalls that control the policies and the things that their citizens can access and cannot access from the internet. Also, another example is in April of this year. I don't know if you guys heard about, in April of this year, Southwest Airlines was experiencing some data loss. And during the operation, it was triggered by a firewall. Apparently, it was triggered by a firewall that failed them, that was not configured properly. So because of this, most of their flights were held by Federal Aviation. They held most of their flights and grounded them for so many hours. It led to a lot of cancellations, a lot of setbacks that week because there were experiencing some data loss, and apparently they came out to say that it was a failure from one of their firewalls that was not configured properly. So this is also an example. If you don't set rules, you don't set the proper policies, or you don't configure it right. So these are real life events that we could all learn from. And to your last slide is our recommendations. If you want to buy a firewall, you're interested in getting one for your own company, your own organization, these are 4. You could get the FortiGate firewall, the Symantec firewall, Palo Alto firewall, and Cisco firewall. So we have 2 network and 2 host-based firewalls that you can get. They are good, they're efficient, and it's easy to use. So this is our presentation for firewall today. I hope we've all learned something about firewall today. Any questions or
That's good.
contributions?
That's good presentation, Debbie.
I have one question.
Okay, who's speaking?
Nanao.
Nana
Okay.
Kennedy.
Yeah.
Okay, so whilst you were talking, I realized you did mention of the firewall being the software and stuff. So I wanted to ask, what makes a software-based firewall and a hardware-based firewall? What's basically the difference between them, and do each one has advantage over each other?
Well, they do have advantage. So you want to know the difference between the network-based firewall and the difference or the advantages?
The difference and the advantage between them.
Okay, so the network base is typically like a hardware, something that you could buy off Amazon, like a USB or something that you could buy, touch, feel, hold. So that's one difference. And then the host base is in the computer. You don't see it with your eyes. You can hold or feel it. So that's a difference. And then the advantage is that with the network base, it usually protects like an entire network. So an entire United cannot just go off Amazon and just buy one. Just say, okay, we just want to protect. They can't just say, because we're thousands of employees. So let's say if we all have computers that we're using, apart from the fact that we're going to be having antiviruses and stuff on the computers that is protecting us, that's for only the computer. So, but the network base can protect the whole entire network. I don't know if I'm making sense. Can protect the whole entire network instead of just protecting one computer.
Yeah, I'm getting it, but I'm trying to picture an example of such a device. So if you can help
Like
me
the
with
network-based firewall or the host-based?
Yeah, the network-based file. I've understood the software-based, but the hardware-based, the network-based.
An example like this, like what is sitting right here on my computer, like the left, like an image right here, right? That is a type of firewall that you could buy off like Amazon or a place like that. And these are examples too. When you type in like Linksys firewall, Zyxel, all of these, they pop up for you to be able to buy them physically.
Okay, so the what I'm getting is the network base only protects the network traffic's coming in into your computer and not. I'm still not getting it right. Does it also protect like files which like comes somewhere other than from like the network? Let's take from a USB.
Okay, so ask the question again.
Mr. Nanel, if I understand you clearly, the network-based firewall, okay, is a firewall that is being installed that protects what comes into the organization and what goes out of the organization. Okay, so at that point in time, when it comes to protecting the ports where you use your USB within the organization, that is an internal. It has bypassed the firewall. Okay, so that has to do with the internal security.
Exactly.
You understand? But the network, it protects what is coming out of the organization into the organization. So it saves, it filters what comes in. So whenever there is any malicious, thing coming in, the network automatically blocks it, depending on the policy that you set for that particular network. Or whenever there is any IP that has been previously used for any particular attack or something of that sort, because the network is and the firewall is familiar with that IP, it automatically blocks it until you allow it to come.
Okay, I get it. So basically, so is this one protects like say what is coming outside through networks, whilst the software base protects stuff like the ports, like putting in USB and stuff. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so my last question is there, let's take a firewall which does both of these two.
I don't think so.
One,
like one firewall that's
combined
protecting both the internet. Yeah.
The incoming traffic and also protecting what's coming from like internal, like USB and stuff. Because I'm looking in terms of let's take I'm looking in terms of let's take an individual who wants to protect their computer, not an organization. I'm thinking it will be much costlier for the individual to purchase this separately and purchase that separately without having that much fun. But if let's take there is a service or let's take a firewall which can do even if not that well, but at least can do both of them together, I'm thinking that will actually limit costs and also help the the regular individuals to protect themselves without needing to spend much.
Well, that is true, but I don't think do we have a firewall like that? Because I know that on a larger scale for bigger organizations, they need both to be able to survive. They need both the network and the host base combined together to be able to work. So, Shafi, is there any firewall like that has one?
Yeah, I think some of the
and host based.
Yeah, as I said earlier, organizations do purchase the network-based firewall because of the assets that they think they have, and that needs to be well protected. But individual on their machines, they have softwares that could protect them from any unwanted, attack or stuff like that. Yeah. So, well, we should have, but currently I have to research that. I have to look at one or two things before I'll be able to say anything. I don't want to say anything that I would I'll have to look at it. But I know there should be a software that will do the both jobs. Yeah, there should be. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, like you say, technically it depends
Okay.
on what assets you're trying to protect. If you're trying to protect, your just a single computer, then you don't have to get a network base. You could just go in with a host base. But if you're trying to protect something on a larger scale, then a network base works perfectly fine.
Yeah. Because as a bigger organization, you have a lot of different, things that you're protecting. Not only
Yeah.
one machine, you're protecting where even your data sits and what have you. So these are all things that need to be well taken care of. So individually, they could have softwares that will take care of that, but you need to have a centralized one that will take care of everything. Example, like you made mention of China, for instance, you go to Saudi Arabia, and if you try to log into, let's say, WhatsApp, to use WhatsApp there, it's not working. Why? Because they have a centralized control. So it tries to protect people from using that particular, how do you call it, particular application or software within the country. You understand? So this is also another way of, setting those rules, those policies in order to be able to control what people do within a particular environment. Because they did that because of the fear of, leaking of important government information and what have you. You know, cybersecurity doesn't only talks about organizations, it talks about nation states, and now it's even greater there. When we talk about nation states, most of them are not going into physical war, but the cyber war and stuff like that. So most of these countries are very careful when it comes to the kind of activities that go on their network and stuff like that. So they have a total, central control over what comes in and what goes out. And that is the main reason why some of the countries you go, unless you use VPN, okay, before you be able to use WhatsApp or Facebook or something when you are within a particular region or a nation state. All right, so these are some of the things. So I know it's like kind of there should be anything that could play the double role. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Thank you very much, Shafui. One last question. You did mention of VPN, and my mind came to it. So I wanted to ask, when it
No,
comes
Mr.
to
Nana,
the
you're,
current
the
you're
line
breaking. I
breaks.
information
can't
about
hear
this
your question.
The line was breaking, so you hardly hear what you said.
is it okay now?
Yeah, come again.
Okay, I was saying thank you very much for your explanation. I get it now. And one last thing also, when you were explaining, you did mention of VPN. So I wanted to ask, currently, you did mention of people using VPN to bypass, restrictions and stuff. And I wanted to ask, is there something to be done about this VPN? Let's take, you don't want people to access some information from, let's take a certain countries, and they are using VPN to still do it.
Yeah.
Is there a way that you can still make the firewall to detect them if in case like they are hiding behind VPNs?
Yeah, definitely. Even though I've never heard of any case that's someone using VPN and being caught for doing that. You understand? For disguising himself, like he being in a particular place and then disguising himself, he is being in a different country. Okay, I've not seen anything like that, but I know every single country has what it takes to check whatever traffic flow that is going in and out of its network. You understand? Even if you are using a VPN, because what you are trying to access is that the firewall is a rule that has been set that if you are within this particular network, okay, you can't access anything from this particular IP address, or nothing from this particular IP address could go through the net to the firewall to the end recipient or the end user. All right. So here you disguised yourself as not being in that particular country, as being in a different country with a different IP address. So you're able to outsmart the firewall. That is why the firewall allowed you to be able to access any information that you wanted to access on the other end. All right. So at that point in time, the firewall will not understand, will not see you as someone being in this country, but will see that, oh, this is a different thing altogether, coming from a different place, or disguising the IP address that is coming in. All right. But going forward, I know now the nation states are kind of wise enough to understand that people are using this particular VPN to divulge or to leak sensitive information outside. So I know they have control over that. But as I said earlier on, I don't have any example to give, as in someone trying to use WhatsApp, let's say in China, or WhatsApp in Saudi Arabia, and then the security service or security system there stops him or caught him for doing that. I don't have any example to give in that, but I know countries are very careful now. They are aware of what is happening when it comes to those things, and they are putting in measures to stop any sensitive information from leaving the country. It could be just like we have in Symantec, that when you set a rule and you talk about a breach, data breach, and you make mention of editing data, the mere mention of editing data in your text makes Symantec to block it, because they feel like something sensitive is going to leave the organization system to the outside world. So I know the same thing, countries could set rules that whenever you try to send anything data, anything information, anything sensitive, anything classified, the system will hold it and will not allow it to go. So I know they may have that thing in place. Thank you. I hope I'm making sense.
Yes, you are, Shafi, you are. Anybody has any questions?
I guess, Join, let me ask one real quick question before we end. All right, so the question that I have is, which of these firewalls would enable any of the assets that we have within our internal network to face the public, in terms of we trying to make any of the assets face the public? I don't know if you understand my question.
No, we don't. Can you reframe your question?
Okay, sure. So there's a tendency where you can have assets that are sitting in your internal network. Like, let's say you have a web server that is sitting on your internal network, and you have a website on the web server. And which of these two firewalls will make it possible for you to be able to have that website face the public, meaning people that are outside your internal network can visit that website? Which of the two firewalls will be able to make that happen? Is it a network-based or the host-based? And then if so, why?
Kwame, I don't understand your question.
Let me take a gander at it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, it is the network-based firewall, because it's monitoring the whole network, unlike the host-based, which is monitoring a single device.
Absolutely.
And if you want to monitor, if you want to monitor a web server, you need a network-based device that will monitor all the traffic coming from outside. To be able to monitor it, and having a host-based firewall is not going to help you do that. I don't think it will even have the capability to manage that much traffic, or that many traffic coming to your server. I hope that answered the questions. Was there another question, or?
No, that's about it. I think what I also wanted to hear was the host base also enables you to be able to add port numbers, because a web server, for instance, if it's one that you want to make it public, the services on the machines, host-based firewall doesn't have that option to do that, but a network-based firewall will give you the option to be able to enable a port. So port 443, for instance, on a firewall could be enabled. That way you can actually make sure that the firewall is allowing a web server to face the public. So that's one part I wanted to hear, but I think you nailed it. Thank you.
Deborah, you understand the question now?
I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
Because you mentioned two different types of firewalls. You mentioned the host-based and then the network-based.
Yeah.
And the network-based firewall, it has more capabilities.
Yeah, obviously, than the host base.
Yeah, right. So if you have a web server that people are going to access, like, let's say you're Amazon and you have your www.amazon.com, that's web server like that where people can access from everywhere. You don't want to put a host-based firewall.
You can't.
Yeah, you can't, exactly. You have to use the network base. So that's what Kwame was asking. Why?
Kwame, that was all you were asking?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Sally. Any more questions, guys?
Yeah, one last question. So I'm bringing a scenario, and the scenario is, let's take I run an internet cafe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which firewall do you think? Which of the two firewall will be best to run an internet cafe? Will one be best than the other, or necessarily need both to run an internet cafe? Whereby I want to stop users from using my internet cafes to do like fishy things on the internet, like fishing for information on the internet and stuff, using my internet cafe and me being in trouble with the authorities. Which are some of the ways I can help prevent this? Is firewall the solution or no?
Well, I think you need both to be able to run an internet cafe efficiently, because the network base will be able to help with the traffic flow and would also be able to help with whatever's coming in and out, because the internet cafe is a company, and also you need a host base to be able to protect the single computers that you have. So I think you need both to be able to run it efficiently.
You could also
Okay.
look at it this way. If it's an internet cafe where you don't have your assets being taken away from your internal network, when I say that, what I mean is you don't have laptops where people are actually taking away to go use and bring it back. So that way you don't have interest in protecting a laptop that is leaving your network. If you're also trying to make sure that you're being cost effective in terms of not spending too much money, and if it's just an internet cafe where people come in to use the network and go, I would say just using a network based will be much more efficient, because you don't necessarily have to spend money on buying the two. Because I don't know if you realize or whether you mentioned in your presentation, the host base are more expensive because you have to install on each one of them. So they make it more expensive. But a network base is not that expensive because it's just one asset that sits on the network and then prevents or protects or filters traffic that are going and coming. So that is much cheaper if you're comparing, because if you have a host base that is costing, say, $20 for one, and you have about 5,000 machines to protect, you have to buy for each one of them. And that makes it very, very expensive. If you just have one host based, network based, that is probably maybe $5,000. It's just one, and you can have as many machines sitting behind the firewall that wouldn't affect the $5,000 that you spent. So when you weigh that way, you can see that the host base is much more expensive if you have more machines, but then the network base is actually a fixed machine. So if I have to answer the question that I was asking, if I want to be cost effective and it's a setup that people don't take my machines away and they come in to sit and use, then I'll go in for the network base. But if it's the kind that people come borrow the laptop and take it away, so long as you're not on my internal network anymore, then my network base cannot protect the machines that I have. So if you're taking it away, then there's a need for me to install a host based on your system. So this is why majority of the companies, because they allow working from home, they allow that you have agents installed on the machines. That way, if you're not on the company's network, the system is still being protected wherever you are. So if I have to answer the question, I'll be looking at cost, and this is how I'll go by it.
Okay,
Great.
thank you very much, Kwame. It's well understood.
Great. Anybody has any more questions, guys?
Yes, so this was just a question, like, Kwame, as a company, you do need a network-based firewall, like, there should be no discussions about that, right?
Without doubt. Without doubt.
Right. Right, and then if your users are not if your user devices are not sitting in one specific place and they're all over the place, then that's where you will be advisable to
Include host-based.
Okay.
Because that's the only way you can apply a policy. Because if, according to the company's network, we are not supposed to allow individuals to watch Netflix on our computers because we learned that Netflix keeps a lot of virus, or I'm using Netflix as an example, so don't take Netflix as a bad website. But if, let's say, we've assumed that Netflix is a bad site, that anyone that goes there attracts virus on our machines, when this policy is put in place and it's only on a network-based firewall, it will only work when I'm on a company's network. So if I'm on a company's network, that is when I can't visit Netflix. But the moment I take the laptop off the company's network without a host-based, I can always visit Netflix. So how do we make sure that people that are taking their laptops to different networks are still abiding by that policy? Then the host base is needed. And the same policy is applied inside the host base. And that would affect all machines that are outside the company's network, because wherever you take it, doesn't matter where you take it. So long as that host agent is installed on there, if you try to visit Netflix, it's going to block you from doing that.
Okay.
All right, you okay, Sally?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you, Daniel.
Okay. All right, guys. If you have any more questions, you have like a minute to go. All right, over to you, Shafik.
All right, I think this has been a very interesting and educative, presentation. I have Madam Janet here. Janet, do you have anything to add?
Shafi,
Yeah.
I'm good. I think today's session was very interactive. What I caught was that it gives us protection against outsider cyber attackers by shielding our network and computers against malicious whatever. I believe I caught the concept well. I believe everyone has also taken something good out of today's session. Thank you, Debbie.
Yes, you're welcome, guys.
It was great.
Yeah, Debbie, good job.
All right, thank you very much. We chose this topic because we've realized in our S+ course or examination, there's always question on, firewall and stuff. So that is what's informed the decision of, selecting this particular topic. And going forward, we try to pick topics or, issues that we know will encounter it in our future examinations and what have you, also treat it. So not only thinking about the threats, we also divert a little bit to areas that we think will be more beneficial to us in our examinations and what have you. So that is what's informed my decision into taking this particular, topic. So next week we will have another interesting, presentation from one of our own. Things will be in the person of Madam Zilla or something, yeah. So we'll try and then prepare ourselves very well and come up with another good presentation. So I'm going to leave everything to Boss if he has anything to add, and then we'll just wrap up and we'll call it a day.
Oh, nothing much. I think this is actually a good presentation, and yeah, continue with coming up with the topics and your reasons that you're giving behind why you choose them. And yeah, I think you guys are doing a good job. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so I think we'll call it a day. God willing, next week we'll come in with another presentation. Thank you very much, you all for passing by, and may God be with us all. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Bye.